God will love you and God will die for you in Christ Jesus, even in your state of sin, without demanding anything from you. As bad as you are, as rotten in sin as you are, in that state, God dies for you without you promising God you will change. No promise of you changing. God decided by faith to die for you. Irrespective of what you do, irrespective of what you didn't do, he still died for you. Is it now that you have come to him that he will need help to save you? He died for you without the promise of you receiving. Is it now that you have come to him that he will need you to be able to save you? Jesus did his best for you when you were a sinner. Many people don't know what that means. They don't know what it means, for Jesus to go to hell. And many people do not know that what takes a man to hell is not his conduct. Let me slow down so that I can repeat so you hear clearly. What takes a man to hell is not his conduct. What takes a man to hell is the nature of sin. What takes a man to hell is not the conduct of the man. What takes a man to hell is the nature of sin. That is why the Old Testament prophets, in spite of believing the gospel as a promissory note of Christ coming to come and die for humanity, in spite of the lives they lived, of course, which some of them were exemplary in nature, though they were still men, did not enter into heaven because they still had the nature of sin. Have you ever thought about it? Those people in the Old Testament saints, people like Abraham, people like Moses, people like Jeremiah, Isaiah, people like Abel, all the Old Testament saints, all of them, when they died, none of them could go to heaven. All they had was a promissory note. And they took that promissory note waiting for Jesus. Why couldn't they go to heaven? The sin nature in them was still there. A man with the sin nature cannot go to heaven. Even though they believed, but because nothing had been done to the nature of sin inside. So they couldn't go to heaven. They had to be kept in paradise. They were still men, but they didn't enter heaven. They had believed the promise. Legally, salvation was theirs. But what happened was, when Jesus rose from the dead, resurrection life was available. Now they became new creations. Resurrection life was available. So when Jesus rose from the dead, what happened was the nature of sin was removed and they were brought from death to life in their spirit. It was after then that they could rise and go with Jesus as cloud of witnesses. So what stops a man from going to heaven is the nature of sin. What takes a man to hell is the nature of sin. As touching the conduct of sin, in the Old Testament, even the blood of animals pacified the conduct of sin. Even the blood of animals. Because all they were required to do was to bring an animal. Animal would be killed, the blood would be smeared on the mercy seat. The goat of escape will be sent to the wilderness, and they are covered for 1 year. So the blood of animals took care of their conduct in the Old Testament. So it's not about conduct, because why Jesus had to die was beyond just conduct. The blood of animals was able to pacify yearly. So if what Christ died for would have been easy, every year all we need to do is to buy 2 goats. How much is 2 goats for a whole year? We just buy the 2 goats. We bring the 2 goats once a year, drop it in the house of God. The man of God will examine the goats and tell you you're free to go. And how many of you observed that in the Old Testament, when they brought the 2 goats to the high priest, they didn't promise the high priest that as we are going, we are not going to sin again. They didn't promise the high priest that as we are going to be good people. We are not going to involve ourselves in sinful acts. They just brought the goats. And it's so interesting that the high priest does not examine the people. He examines the goat. And if the goat meets the requirement for covering, the man is asked to go till next year. And the man goes and continues to sin without repercussion, because the goat is standing in his place. Then at the end of 1 year, they bring another goat without a promise of change of life, because the blood of goat could not work on the nature of sin. It could only cover them in the conduct of sin. Now, if the blood of goats had so much power to cover them, where they were concerned with conduct and all of that, if all a man needed to go to heaven was good conduct, then we don't need the death of Jesus. We will just be using goats to cover for our bad conduct. We will just be using goats to cover for our mistakes. And and then once we give the goats, we just go and live our lives anyhow. And remember, the goat didn't have the power to enable them to live right lives. So it's still the same old sinner. Nothing happened to him. It's just that he brought a pacification to the altar. And once he drops the animal, he goes and continues with his lifestyle. And it was okay under the old covenant. So if that was good enough, there will be no need for Jesus. After all, it's just 2 goats a year. And I don't even have to buy matured goats. I can buy baby goats in January. It is even too long. I can buy baby goats in August and feed them, take care of them, look after them. In fact, August may even be too far. Then December, bring them to the high priest. Hand them over. Go and continue my life. I'm covered. Do anything I want to do. Just buy another set of goats in August. Train the goats, grow them up, overfeed them with, whatever will make them grow fast. Bring them to the high priest. Take care of them. He goes back again. Now, because that is where conduct does not save. That is where conduct does not save. Because the Old Testament people had whatever was needed to cover their conduct. There is no salvation in conduct. That is why the resurrection life which Jesus provided by his death became a necessity. And there was one sacrifice, and that sacrifice was so important. That sacrifice was a sacrifice of a man who will offer himself spirit, soul, and body. That spirit, soul, and body sacrifice is Jesus. And he was offered for us so we can have eternal salvation.